Hello, everyone, and welcome. Let me minimize this. Welcome to tonight's session. I am Clifton Brantley, your host, and I am so glad that you've decided to join me for another episode of Becoming a Husband. So, this is week 2 of this particular series, and man, you guys forgive me. I don't know what's going on, but when I say my mouth is dry, it is beyond dry, and it's only been this way in the last hour or so. I hope it's not a nervous thing. I don't think I'm nervous, but my mouth is like dry, so forgive me. Because I'm doing a lot of talking, so I want to make sure that's taken care of. But so last week we talked about some foundational truths about being a husband. And let me pull up the chat in case you guys are asking me questions. Try to hold the questions to the end, but in case you guys do ask me something. So last week we talked about some foundational truths about being a husband. Okay, we talked about the husband's responsibility to cultivate his wife like a garden, right? So that she can produce much fruit. We said that to cultivate means to foster the growth of. Right? As a husband, it's your job to help your wife grow to be her best self. Okay, a lot of times we think that works in reverse, and I'm not saying that it can't, but your role is to cultivate her, right? A husband is to watch over his wife and protect his wife. Then we talked about the wife's number one need, which is emotional security. Okay, the husband is to love his wife the way Jesus loves us. That is sacrificially, intentionally, and non-transactionally. Okay, meaning you don't give something, you don't give love to get something in return. All right, that's not how that works. You being a husband, meaning you doing what you vowed to do, cannot depend on her being a wife. All right, marriage is not about give and take. And the unfortunate reality is that a lot of the foundational tools necessary for marriage, a lot of that is stolen from men when we're little boys, right? And I've talked about that before, so I'm not going to go into great detail here. But know that since you are married, you have to overcome your childhood strongholds. Okay, too often husbands come in my office and they're unwilling to address or admit that they have issues that stem from childhood. Some are unwilling to admit that they deal with issues at all, whether it's childhood or not. And they're unwilling to address the fact that they have issues. Okay, as a husband, you must be willing to confront yourself. You must be willing to confront yourself. You want the respect a husband deserves, but you're not willing to learn how to love her the way she deserves to be loved. But the thing is this, loving her is going to be hard when you have your own internal issues that you refuse to address. Last week I said that for the husband, the most important relationship that he have is one for the wife, is the relationship with the wife. But I want to correct that statement. Okay, so this week I'm changing that a little bit, right? And I can say it this way: the wife is the most important relationship outwardly that the husband has, but really the most important relationship a husband can have is the one with himself, because when you're not good with yourself, then you're not going to be good for someone else. Notice I said good for them, not good to them, right? Anyone can fake kindness and love and patience for a while, but the real test is graded over time by how you treat your wife, right? It's not about, me doing a nice thing here or there, but over time, how do you treat her? Okay, and I have clients who've become comfortable with their dysfunction. One of the most dangerous things that you can do is to accept your bad behavior as being who you are, right? When you say, well, that's just the way I am, then you've stunted your own growth and you've settled for mediocrity. This is going to affect your ability to love your wife. Okay, being a husband is about being responsible for the love that your wife receives. But if your love factory is damaged because of childhood issues, then you cannot be the husband that she needs. If you have an issue being gentle with your wife, you may have identity issues. Being harsh with her could be an indication that you're not good with yourself internally. If you were molested as a child, if you were abused, if you saw your parents fighting in front of you, if a parent went to prison, died, or just abandoned you, right? If you have difficulty expressing your feelings, you may have, here's another one. Even if you have what I call other esteem, meaning you need things on the outside of you to validate who you are, what's going on inside. Any of those things going on, then you more than likely have identity issues. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way, but I mean it in a more of a reality way, right? When you don't know who you are, then it is a sign that you don't know your value. When you don't know the value of something, abuse is inevitable. When you don't know the value of something, abuse is inevitable. And the problem is you may think that you know you, so then you won't address the man in the mirror because you think you're good. And I was thinking earlier today, that's like a woman standing in the mirror looking at her breasts and saying, I mean, they look fine to me. I don't see no cancer, right? But that's not how the examination goes. If she examines her breast and she feels a lump, she's going to have a different response, even though they still look fine, right? So my goal is to help you go deeper in your self-examination so that you will be the best self that you can be, right? Why do you need to be good with you? Well, why do you need to love you first? Because if you're not full of love, then what are you going to give? If you're needing love from her, then how are you going to give love to her, right? You probably got married because you wanted to be loved. But the real and only true reason to get married is when someone is full of love and now they want to share it. But we usually don't get married for that reason, right? So now, if you recognize that you are in that place, then I urge you to get therapy to help you heal from what's broken, so that you could give more. Because those things, your childhood stuff, or things that may have happened after childhood, or if you don't know where it come from, because a lot of times people are afraid to say, hey, this is probably connected to my childhood, because they think that we're judging their parents. It had nothing to do with judging your parents. They were human, which means they were imperfect, which means no matter how good they were, I'm sure they messed some stuff up. But if you don't want to deal with the childhood, that's fine. But if you know that you have issues that you can't work out, then I urge you to get therapy so that you can give what you said you would give, which is all of you. Okay. Now, I want to talk about for a brief moment why when you try to change your behavior, it doesn't work, right? Why when I try to make these changes and it doesn't last, okay? I've given this analogy before and I like it, so I'm gonna tell it again. So if you walked up to a fruit tree, how would you know what kind of tree it is? Well, you'd know by the fruit that's on the tree. Now let's say it's an apple tree. And how did the apple tree get into the ground? Well, somebody had to plant it, right? Someone planted seeds, and the reason that the tree has apples on it is because of the kind of seeds that were planted, right? Now, if you want pears, you can't simply cut off the apples and then staple the pears on the tree. The pears that you staple to the tree will not last, and the apples that you cut off the tree are going to grow again. Why? Because it's an apple tree. And that's what I find a lot of husbands doing when it comes to change behavior, right? See, the fruit of the tree represents your words and your behavior. The tree represents your heart. And trying to change your words and your behavior without dealing with the tree, your heart, is like cutting the apples off and nailing up the pears. That's why your change behavior doesn't last. Because lasting change can only happen when you have a heart change. When there's a heart that is healed and healthy, then there is nothing on the outside that can happen that will cause you to not to, there's nothing that can happen on the outside that's going to affect negatively on the inside, and you give, something negative. Did that make sense? But here's the thing. You have to want to change because you want to be better and not for some reward from your wife, right? Changing for her approval is not good enough. Changing so she'll stop fussing. Changing so she'll give you sex. Changing for anything from your wife, it won't last. The reason that you want to change is first because of you. You're the one living your life, right? One husband told me, why should I work on me if she's not going to work on her? Well, because working on you should be for you first, right? How can you lead your family when you can't even lead yourself? How you gonna do that? How you gonna lead your family when you can't lead yourself? Okay. Don't ever forget that what comes out of you is because of what is in you. Right? Your wife did not put it there, and she can't fix it. You can't say she made me do that, because you are responsible for you. That's why the Bible says, guard your heart above all else, because from it flows the issues of life. Okay. Now, some of these mindsets and myths that husbands have that may be causing you to not get the best out of your marriage. One of them, and probably one of the biggest one, is loving your wife. Loving your wife does not have anything to do with, I shouldn't say anything to do with, let me say it a different way. Loving your wife is not about taking care of her financially, okay? The myth is if you provide for her financially, then you're doing what husbands do. That's kind of partly true. If we're doing a percentage, like that might be 25% of loving her. The other 75% is going to be her emotional security. Okay. That is probably one of the biggest misconceptions about being a husband. And it's because we are really raised that way. And then society condones the conditioning that a man's job is to give his money. Right? True. You have to be a financial provider. That is true. But that comes secondary to her emotional security. Now, if your money is unstable, then that can affect her emotional security as well. But the point is to not focus on the money, but her emotional security. Okay. Now, here's some things that can attack her emotional security, right? And some of these may be obvious, but some of you may have engaged in them. And then we can talk about in the questioning part how to come back from some of these things. If you've done some of these things, how to come back from it, right? So here's one: being unfaithful in any kind of way. Okay, being unfaithful in any kind of way. This day and age, you can be unfaithful, or there can be an infidelity injury without having physical sex. And it can be just as damaging, even though there was no physical touching. Okay. So you have to be self-disciplined enough to keep women out of your DM and for you to stay out of theirs. Okay. You can't make inappropriate comments to women. You can't allow women to make inappropriate comments to you on social media or whatever and not say anything. And then, of course, the obvious, flirting, actually cheating, those things harm your marriage. Like I know the cheating is obvious, but those other things harm your marriage as well. And a lot of times you take it for granted. Well, I didn't sleep with her, right? And then it's dangerous for you to blame your indiscretions on her. It doesn't matter what she did or what she was doing. If you came home every day and as soon as you walk in the door, you was just an MF for all until you fell asleep, that's not going to make you cheat. Okay. You cheating It's about your response to either what's going on in you, your response to her, your response to life, whatever it is, it's your response, right? No one's making you do anything. So you're going to injure her emotional security when you are not being faithful. Um, Here's another one: not being honest, right? Not being honest about what's going on in your life, what you're doing. I have people who, for whatever reason, they lie, like for no reason, just lie. I mean, there's a reason. At the root of it, it's fear. Fear is always at the root of lying, but not being honest. And then here's another one: not being transparent. Okay, so being honest and transparent, they're not the same thing. Okay, to be honest means I tell the truth when asked. Transparency is more about volunteering information, like before you ask. I always give this example I give. So, if your lady asks you, if your wife asks you, "Hey, have you seen your ex lately?" And you say, "Oh yeah, I saw her at the grocery store the other day." That's honest. But transparency would be when you get home, "Babe, guess who I saw at the store today? I saw such and such." That's transparency. You get it? So those two things, not walking in those, can affect her emotional security. Okay. Here's another one: not talking about your feelings. Not talking about your feelings can create insecurity in your wife emotionally, and it can be bad. And that's one of those things where she may not even know why she's feeling some kind of way, and you don't know that it's connected to you not sharing. There's just a disconnect. Okay. Being harsh with her, being harsh with your wife is going to affect her emotional security. Talking about her weight. I ain't gonna lie, I really thought that was kind of a given, but it's not. And then I have to think back at a time when I did not know it was a given. I was in the same boat. I'm like, oh yeah, that's you can't do that. Your wife's weight is off limits. Just do I really have to go into why? Because I don't even have. I don't have. I honestly don't have a reason why that would be suitable enough for you to just don't do it. Like, just don't stay away from that. Okay. Here's another myth or misunderstanding, or something that I want to correct. Your wife is not your sex slave. And so I know how you guys think. Well, at least the ones I encounter. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think she's my sex slave. That's what you say out of your mouth, but that's not how you treat her, right? You got to understand that men and women work differently. A lot of times, men are complaining, husbands are complaining about not getting sex, but they also are not creating the kind of connection that would want the wife to have sex. So a lot of times, men think, I have men who think that their wife is withholding sex from them. Now, there are women who do that. And if you're on here, I'm going to tell you to stop it. That's not right. Don't do that. Okay. But I'm not talking about like intentionally withholding sex. A lot of times to husbands, it looked like she's withholding, but really there's a disconnect. And see, men, we can look at a woman and we're ready to go. Like our body just like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do it. We can have a fight, and then she come in the room naked, and let's get it on. But women, their bodies don't work that way, and it's not an intentional thing. Like they're not trying to be turned off; they're turned off, right? Women need that emotional spark and connection for their bodies to respond naturally. You know what I'm saying? And so, while you're complaining about us not having sex, examine yourself. Remember last week we talked about the garden? What have you planted that's causing this fruit not to grow? Okay? Because a lack of sex is a sign, it's a symptom of a deeper issue. And the issue is a lack of connection. When you guys are connected, providing everybody is healthy, physically, and like there's no erectile dysfunction, there's nothing going on with her. When you guys are connected, sex just happens. because we are intimate creatures, right? We thrive on intimacy. And when we're connected, that just kind of takes care of itself, right? So, and I'm going to leave, that's all I'm going to say about the sex piece, because I want to intentionally leave it open for you guys to ask questions. We'll get to the question and answer part, because I know you probably have questions. And so I'll leave that there. Another myth that you may not, this may not be a part of your marriage, but it's very common, and is this: you do for me and I'll do for you. Okay? And what I want to tell you is, you do for her regardless of what she does for you. Okay? Now, this is a mindset that can be damaging to your relationship when you feel like, well, I got to give to get, or, I do something for you, you do something for me. So favor works that way. Okay. That favor goes, you do me a favor, I do you a favor. Love does not work that way. But as the husband, I'm going to say it this way, as a next level husband, I'm going to encourage you to even give favors when she's not giving favors back. And you may be saying, now, Mr. Therapist, why are you encouraging me to give all of this stuff? Why are you encouraging me to do all of this? Because you're the man, you're the husband, and it's your marriage. And she's your wife. Who would not want to, be over and above blessing to their wife? And I ain't talking about material stuff, okay? I believe that's elementary level love. I'm talking about giving her all of you. A lot of husbands are unable to give all of them because they're not even connected to all of them. And that's that part I was talking about, as far as identity. The deeper your love goes, then the more of yourself you give to your wife. And trust me, she can tell when she doesn't have all of you, right? When your wife has all of you, they're just natural. There's fruit that come from that spring up out of her garden when she has all of you. Okay. Treat your wife like the precious flower she is. And I know that may sound misogynistic to some people. That may sound, I don't know, Pollyanna. But even if your wife has hurt you, do the work to get over the hurt. But she's still a flower if you don't see your wife that way. Now, what I'm about to say may be controversial, however you say that word. Listen, if you can't love her, then let her go. If you can't love her, and you aren't willing to learn to love her, let me say it that way. If you think, well, she hurt me and this is what she gonna get, man, let her go. What's the point? What's the point? Don't hold her hostage, going back and forth and playing with. Speaking of, I just thought of this. This wasn't in my notes. Another thing that attacks your wife's emotional security: threatening to leave or actually leaving. Bruh, if you're married, you're grown. And I'm sorry if you got married at 18, you still grown. Men don't leave. What are you doing? Right? Leave because of a fight? Because you can't have your way? Because she getting on your nerves? Come on, man. You can't keep coming and going. You can't keep, I have some people where that threat has damaged the marriage to the point to where the wife, it's just difficult for her to even re-engage. You know what I'm saying? And so be careful with that. Don't bring up the D word, right? Divorce should not come up in any of your fights or whatever, unless you know for sure 100% you going to the lawyer the next day and you need to let her know what you're doing, right? Other than that, stop making empty threats. Stop leaving home, okay? Now, obviously, I'm talking in general. I'm not talking about if there's a safety issue, your life's in danger, or, she's trying to provoke you to hit her. Come on, those are obvious situations, but a fight, just a regular argument, Work it out. Okay. And here's my goal. My goal is, if not via this way, it may be in therapy, but to help you be strong enough to withstand her tongue at times, her whatever, her disrespect, and still give love. Why? Because that's what's required, right? That's what's that is what love is. And when you can give at that level, it's better for you because it means that you are more healthy inside. Okay? It means that you're more healthy inside. Here and so one more mindset that I believe is can be harmful to marriage. And here it is. I work hard, so I should be able to play hard. Now you may say, well, what's wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with it as long as playing hard does not include violating the marriage or disrespecting your wife. But having the mindset puts you in a vulnerable place to do things that don't fit with what makes marriage work, right? So what's the alternative mindset? If I work hard, I should be able to play hard. Well, just do what you need to do. Just work, And again, I know that one is tricky. I put it on the list because I heard it this week, and it can get you in trouble. So just be careful with that. I work hard, so I should be able to play hard. A lot of times when guys say that, they are talking about something not necessarily to do with women, but something disconnected from their wife. Like, I should be able to go off and do my own thing. Be careful with that. That's what I'm gonna say to that. Your mindset, as opposed to I'm here to have fun. This is the mindset that I believe, if you have this, everything will begin to work itself out, which is this. I'm here to make her life better. That's it. That's all. I'm here to make her life better. If you follow that, there's some issues you won't run into, right? Remember last week I talked about loving her the way Christ loved the church? Well, the reason that he could love that way is because he wasn't carrying baggage from his childhood, right? He knew who he was, and he was confident about who he was because, he knew who he was. And also, he was full of love. So that means he had plenty of love to give. Now, the thing is this, for you to be full of love that you can give to your wife, you have to be connected to the love source. The love source is God, not your wife. All right? He designed you that way. Just like God created you with lungs that don't work underwater, he also designed you with an internal void that can only be filled by him. Now, you may not feel it with him. That's fine. You may try to dabble a little bit. Let me, pray real quick. Let me read Psalms 23. There's a void that only he can fill. I know, you may not like that. You think it's too super, spiritual or over the top, but one of the things I told you is this: marriage is a natural relationship with very supernatural implications. It's a natural relationship with supernatural implications. And don't think that something that has the power to turn your life upside down, which would be relationships, i.e. marriage, something that powerful, God would not be interested in it. He is. Remember when we talked about Adam? Last week we talked about Adam. When Adam was in the garden, God put Adam in the garden before Eve ever showed up. Remember? So he gave Adam the task of naming the animals. Well, that was he gave him the task of cultivating the garden and watching over the garden. Right? All this was before Eve showed up. But here's another point that I didn't mention last week that I want to help you with. Before Eve showed up, Adam had a relationship with God. He did. Why is that important? Because before God gave him a wife, he gave him a relationship with himself. Adam had an identity in God before he was a husband. Adam lost his identity when he put the creation, his wife, before the creator God. That's when he lost his identity. Before he put Eve before God, Adam was good. And then afterwards, when God came looking for him, Adam said, I hid because I'm naked. And God said, who told you that you were naked? I named you Adam. How'd your name become naked? Where'd you get this new identity from? It came from disobeying me, right? Adam and Eve was overcome with shame. And my point is this, guys. At the end of the day, loving your wife is going to heavily depend on your identity and who you believe you are, and also too where you believe you come from. Right now, however you receive it, I hope that you receive it. Right, however you get it. Whether it is, the example of Jesus loving loving us, and you're gonna love your wife that way, or whether it is, okay, I need to connect to God so that I can be full of love, heal my childhood stuff, and then love her. However you need to get there, because they're all important. You are responsible for you. You are the only one that can change what's going on the inside of you. And man, listen, let me tell you, if you need your wife's approval, you are in trouble. If you need your wife to be a certain way before you can be a certain husband, then that is dysfunctional. Okay? And you're already married, so, we can't say, hey, don't get married. You're already married, but you still can work on it after the fact. Okay? Now, like I said before, I left some gaps in some of my explanations because I want you guys to ask questions, because I can probably get more detailed, as you ask questions about, certain things. And I did get your questions that you guys sent via the form. I got there wasn't really questions, but talked about your biggest issues or whatever as a husband. And one of them I kind of addressed here, but let me just magnify it. Somebody said, I struggle with being the husband that God wants me to be. The way that you can be the husband that God wants you to be is to find out what God wants. Okay. And then now this is something that I realized this week for myself. And this may help you. So if this ain't for you, then you can close your ears and then take them off when you think I'm done. I don't know. The way that you live a godly life, like whether that's being for your wife or even if you're single, the way that you live a godly life is not by trying to live a godly life, right? I realized this week, all my life, I've been trying to live as a Christian all on my own by following the rules and doing these things. But here's the reality. The way that you fulfill God's promises and whatever the case is by seeking him, not trying to do the stuff. Because when you try to do the stuff, you're going to fall flat on your face and you're going to be like, dang, I failed again, because that's not how it's designed to work. Here's how I came to this revelation, and this is good for you too, because the number one characteristic that a husband needs, did I say this last week? I may have. Self-discipline. Number one characteristic that you need is self-discipline. Because if you can't discipline yourself, how you gonna lead, right? But as I was processing that this week, because that's actually what I was going to talk about. A big bulk of what I was going to talk about tonight was going to be self-discipline, but I decided not to, and I'm sharing with you why right now. But if you want to know more about it, I definitely can share with you, like offline or in a different kind of setting, maybe on a Sunday. But I realized that self-discipline is actually one of the fruit of the Spirit. And so when I realized that, I was like, hey, so wait a minute. If it's a fruit of the Spirit, and I know that the Spirit lives in me, why aren't I seeing this fruit? And so as in my research and, reading or whatever, what I realized was I've been trying to manifest the fruit all on my own, as opposed to abiding in God the way the word says and just letting the fruit come out on its own. So for the person who said, well, how do I live, up to the godly expectations of well, as a husband, be the godly husband that my wife needs, trusting in God and not trying to do the stuff. You trust in him, the stuff will come. I can't say naturally because it's supernatural, right? But it's more about being in Christ than it is about, let me do these things because I know that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay? All right. So that's what I have for you tonight, guys. Kind of short, sweet. I'm debating on whether or not I'm gonna do another week for the men. I'm thinking I'm gonna transition to the women, but I'm not sure. So you guys can let me know what you think. If I do another week for the men, then I would really need you guys to participate and tell me what you want me to talk about. Like, tell me what you want me to address, and I'll address those specific things. Even if it's unique to your situation, the thing is, it's probably not unique to your situation because you heard that song, All Around the World, same song? That's kind of how marriage is, right? It may look slightly different, but at the core, marriage problems are pretty much the same, okay? And the struggles that husbands have are by and large the same. But the biggest, I believe, is your childhood issues that you refuse to address, because that is heavily going to affect how you show up in the world, okay? And I don't know who's on here, but I'm going to just say it. If there are any people on here, any men, and you believe that you are an alpha man, and I don't mean like Alpha Phi Alpha. I mean alpha man where, you are like we call the lions. If you think that's you, I want to help you with your insecurities, because there is no such thing. And I know you think you're the big bad wolf, but what's going on the inside will betray you. You just won't let folks see it. It's like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain. Trust me. You don't need to announce I'm an alpha man, so I don't know any more quote unquote alpha man of anyone more like that than Jesus, and that's something he never said that. And he was the most gentle brother, but he was also the most get you off me when I need to Pharisees, like he wasn't harming people. Okay, so anyway, my point is, if you think you're alpha male, let's talk. Okay, all right. So questions. You guys, I'm open for questions for a few minutes. Let me know what you got. And I know I tried to make it tonight to where you had to have questions because I didn't give you everything. So if y'all don't have questions, you're going to be, I don't know if you may not be confused. I don't know. I didn't try to confuse you, but tell me about it. How do you give in? How do you give in? Well, so the thing is that determination is going. So that's something that's going on in your head, right? And so I would immediately say that has to be a childhood. Let me say this, because I don't want to say childhood and then just throw people off. That has to be a you issue, wherever it came from. Because I'm trying to think of a different example other than Jesus, because I don't want to I don't want to make it unfair. But like for me, if we're having an argument, I want something, and my lady says no or whatever, we're not agreeing. Me giving in is not going to make me feel weak. And for another man, it may make him feel weak. which proves the point. It's about how you see you. Like there's nothing you so I used to have let me share this. So I used to have an issue with not feeling manly enough, right? I didn't have a close relationship with my dad, and so as I became an adult, I didn't really have strong relationships with men, and I was always comparing myself to them. Man, am I man enough? I'm not like I'm not like tough. Am I rugged enough? And and so anytime that was questioned, I was sensitive, so I got upset. Right now, if you could peek into my life, I can't say there's nothing you can do or say, but very little you're gonna be able to say to make me feel like I'm weak. Like here's a great example. Here's a great example. At least I think. When I finish with this and I go to my garage and I'm working in my wood shop, I have a playlist. I have a playlist on my phone. On my playlist, it's pretty much a lot of music that I grew up with, but I got Patti LaBelle, Lady Marmalade. I don't know how to say that. I got Rick James, I got Brandy, I got Beyonce, right? And when I'm in the garage singing, I'm singing all the songs. And if a man came in, I'm not gonna stop singing the songs. Why? Because I've gotten to the place where I'm good with me. So what you think my behavior is, I'm not really interested in that. So that's what I would say to that question, LaTroy. Actually, if you're feeling that way, that's more of a you feeling and how you see you, and because if you're good, what does it matter? The real question is, I guess, what are you giving in? When you give in, are you truly compromising your integrity, right, or not? Right, that would be more important than the label that you would give yourself if you gave in, because the opposite of that mindset tells me that you're not being genuine because you feel like I have to have this image. I got to be this, so I'm not seen as a biatch, so well, no, just be you, whatever that is. But if you're not secure with you, then you can't just be you. You got to try to be someone else. I'm going to be this kind of guy. I'm going to be that kind of guy. Why? Because either I don't know who I am or I'm not secure with, and that's what I used to do. I used to try to be hard. How do you try to be hard? What did I do back? Let me think. I don't know what I did, but I, just try to be hard. And now I'm like, I am hard. I've run a business by myself. I raised 3 children by myself. When I say by myself, I mean I was a single dad, but they still had their mom in their life. So many things that I did that weak people can't do. And so society's labels of, oh, you crying, that's weak. I don't fall for that. Even though I do have an issue crying because I've been conditioned, not because I'm anti-crying though. I wish my stuff worked better, but I got my own childhood stuff. So anyway, any other questions? Oh yeah, I'm gonna show it. YouTube asked me if I wanted to hide it or show it. I can show it. Maybe I should type an answer so when people see the question, they can see the answer too. I will after. Like, yeah, I'll do that. So, any other questions? I didn't have a client tonight. Why did that go off? Anyway, any other questions for me? Questions. Any questions? I appreciate you guys for joining me tonight. And I really do need you to let me know. If you don't let me know here via email or something, and I really need to know by Sunday so I'll know what to prepare. If you guys want another session of us dealing with some more in-depth husband issues and things that you struggle with to overcome, or if I can move on to the women and let them get some medicine. So let me know what you guys think. I'm waiting. LaTroy's the only one that's brave enough to ask a question. No one else? All right. Well, I will be here next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and hopefully something was said today that was helpful and that was something that you could implement into your marriage. Remember, you are responsible for you. Whatever triggers you have, you are the one responsible for deactivating them. Don't put the onus on your spouse to not push the button. No, you deactivate the buttons so they don't work. So when they come in your warehouse of frustration pushing buttons, none of them work. Dang, this button used to work all the time. This was a surefire button and it don't work. And you just let them know, because I've grown. Now every time you push these buttons, the only thing that comes out is love. Why? Because that's what I'm full of. Whatever you're full of is what's going to come out of you. You walk around, you got a quick temper, or you're always angry, or, whatever's in you, that is the only thing that's going to come out of you. I told a client earlier today, there's nothing you can do to make Chinese come out of me. You could put a gun to my head, say, if you don't speak Chinese, I'm going to blow your head off. Guess what's going to happen? I'm going to die. Because it ain't in there, so it can't come out. It can't come out because it ain't in there. In the same way, what's coming out of you is because it's in there. And when you see it, address it. You thought you had a pear tree. When you see those apples, you say, wait a minute. Let me uproot that tree and plant a new tree with better fruit. Okay? All right, guys. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. Take your lady out on a date. If you quarantine scared, take on the patio. Set up candlelight dinner. Do something out of the box, out of the ordinary. Something to make her say, wow, okay. I don't know, just try it. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. And thanks again for allowing me to share with you.